This is the Momentum Podcast.
One of the most underutilized areas where entrepreneurs can get leverage in their business is actually in their personal life. This is a special presentation by Andrea Reindl, CEO and founder of Legacy Creative. Andrea's created an organization that's changing the world and making a massive contribution. Her impact is clear, and it's the result of her commitment to implementation. In this special sneak peek into the Sharfen Summit, you're going to learn how to overcome the feeling of being drowned in your business without having to lose the business that you love or hurt the people around you. You're going to learn how to implement momentum-based forward planning into your life and business so that you can step into your role as a visionary leader of your business. And you're going to learn the 3 biggest areas of implementation that gave Andrea the most leverage in her business. I hope you enjoy.
I'm Alex Sharfen, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future. And instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be.
Thank you so much, Alex, for trusting me with your group and also your friendship over the years. It's been great. That was the exact right amount of time I needed to get all set up too. So thank you for that.
You know what? If we have energetic alignment at that level, Andrea, we're crushing it.
Yeah, we're crushing it. Totally. So I'm going to share with you all 10 minutes today, a lot of how I implemented what you'll be learning here. And the reason for that is I'm a fairly high conceptual type person, probably like a lot of you visionaries and CEOs really are. And so when I came into the program a little bit over a year ago, it was me figuring out how to implement to make sure that I got the results that I was hoping for. And it really ties a lot back to self-care, but I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of how I did it. So then you guys can ask questions after if you're interested. Before I go too far, I'll give you a little bit of how I ended up as an entrepreneur. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My parents never made a ton of money, but they always had a business. So I feel like I've always been around business. I technically started in this industry, building the business that I'm building right now in 2010. I was a fresh new single mom. I had 2 little kids. I owned a real estate portfolio. I had a bit of wealth, but I had like net worth wealth that doesn't really buy groceries. So I had to do something else to create like a sustainable life for my kids and I. In 2015, I was burnt out and exhausted, like completely burnt out. Alex, I think you knew me quite well around then. I had like massive bags under my eyes. I was working really, really long hours. I sent my daughter to school one day. I'm still a little mortified by this. I sent her to school with multiple lice in her hair on picture day. And I had done her hair, curled it that morning, sent her to school, didn't see the lice in her hair, and had the teacher call me and say, hey, you got to come pick up Melena because she's got lice. And I hadn't even noticed. Like, that's how disconnected I was from my life, that I didn't know my kid had multiple bugs running around in her hair and I had lice. Like, that's how disconnected from my life I was, and how like my business was killing me. So it was around that time that I went to the first event with Alex and Katie. And I remember sitting there thinking, Alex knows what he's talking about, but I don't know why I didn't like join up and, do what was going on then, but I don't know. You didn't have maybe a really clear offer, Alex. That's probably what it was. Probably. You guys got really clear on your avatar, which I am. So in 2017, my life took a bit of a turn. I ended up single again. I've been married twice. I ended up single again. And I started Legacy Creative from like a place of vision. It was like, I know what I'm good at. I know what I know how to do. I want to work with visionaries. I want to see them have their visions come to life. And so I started it then. And it was finally only a year ago that I joined Sharfen. And it's like completely changed our life since then. And by ours, I mean like our whole company. I know there's some of you in the room that will have had this sort of like same background as me, which is that I've been interested in business operations for a long time. I had private coaching. I've probably spent about $200,000 in private coaching with I know it's $200,000 with different organizations. We were a big traction team before this, and we implemented a lot of the traction systems in our business. It was pretty okay-ish, like it was better than what we had before. And I actually really have a lot of love and respect for traction. I would like to see Sharfin crush the traction system, which we can talk about later. And we did have a semi-cadence that was kind of working, but there was still quite a bit of stress in my life. Like I still wasn't feeling like I wanted to build a business bigger than I had, because the one that I had was like enough to stress me out. And so I couldn't see getting any bigger than where we were. I am 100% in business to impact people. This is my team. These are the people I work with today. I would move hell or high water for them. Like if anyone asks what drives me, it's to impact people. First, the people I work with. Second, the people we serve. And so I know that many of you are probably driven by the same thing, which is why I share that. Like this is my chosen family. I'm lucky enough to also have my blood sister work with me. But like if I was going to have a family reunion, these are the people that show up at that. When I started implementing, I'm going to give you the 3 things I did that I think made the biggest difference. And then for those of you that are analytical people, I have some numbers at the end to prove why this works and why the 2 are not connected, but that it works. The first thing I did was I got into the momentum planner. Frankly, I was a little bit like, this doesn't make sense to me. I'm a Franklin planner person. I like my times of the day. Like I had lots of resistance to the way that it was laid out. But I have an agreement with myself, which is if I'm going to hire a coach and I'm going to go all in on a system, even if I don't agree with them, I will listen to them. So I was like, whatevs, they want me to do the momentum planner. That's what I'll be doing. And so I really dug into doing the momentum planner in the way that it's laid out. And I also did, if you haven't gone through the momentum program that's in our dashboard, do it. The alignment exercise literally changed my life. And Sharfin team, you'll have to tell people where to find that. But I think that exercise alone is worth all the money that I've paid Alex. And I feel like I will owe you guys forever because of just that one exercise, let alone all the rest of it. So I dug into the momentum planner. I did the momentum planner. And I think the biggest thing that made the biggest difference for me was that question, where was I uncomfortable? And I don't do where was I uncomfortable once a day. I kind of almost do it all day long. And for a long time at the very beginning, I did it all day long. And I started to notice things like my shoes click on the floor at work and they drive me crazy. So I've now shifted to all soft sole shoes because I couldn't stand them. You know, my bra is not comfortable, which in 2020, they're optional anyway, you know, but like my clothes aren't comfortable. I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable not knowing where all my money is. I'm uncomfortable not being sure if I could take on another client. Like all of a sudden, all the places where I was uncomfortable started to come up. And then I could just reflect back every week and decide which of those things were uncomfortable and I could solve. One of the things that, well, I'll talk about in a second, there's tons of places where that was really great for me. So dig into the momentum planner. Number 2, I got really very, very clear on my vision. I have a long vision document. I used, Cameron Hare, what's it called? The Vivid Vision book, whatever that is. I read the book and I went through the whole thing and I got really clear on my vision. Like, why was I doing this for me? Why am I doing this for my family? Why am I doing it for my team? Why am I doing it for the world? Like, I just got really, really clear on that. And that was sparked by, it was sparked because when I onboarded with Sharfin, I had to go through all those numbers. And while I was going through all the numbers, it kind of made me think like, why the heck am I doing this? And why do we have this number? And why do we have that number? And just the process of onboarding required that I get really clear on my vision because I was terrified to get to that strategic call and not have an answer. The strategic direction call kind of forced me to get really clear on what is this business and how are we going to build it? And so I think being clear on my vision has made an absolute impact on my business. Like right now, our business is attracting talent that's out of this world because we're clear on vision. And the talent is like, hey, I just sold my company to Facebook. Can I come and work with you? Like that's what's going on behind the scenes. And then the most, like from a practical standpoint, if you're an operator or you're a CEO, I looked left on the Billionaires Code. And it's a little bit unintuitive. I know you'll hear people say that all the time, but in a second, I'm going to show you the results that looking left on the Billionaire Code did for me and why it showed me that self-care was actually the key to being able. So I didn't start thinking self-care was the key, But when I looked left on the billionaire code, I could figure out why self-care was my key and why I had to look after myself. So what it came up for me was that self-care to me meant I had to simplify and automate my life so that I could be present and I could be the leader that I needed to be to take the business to the next level. And it was looking back at the billionaire's code when I was like, man, I have to get clear on my avatars for different brands. My company runs different brands. So I've actually had to get clear on avatars for a couple of different brands. So I had to get clear on that. And I was like, okay, I got to get clear on this, which means I need more time in my personal life in order to be I need to get rid of everything I'm doing that doesn't matter so I can do the activities that only matter, which means this is what I actually did. I increased my house cleaning to every week. I hired a personal trainer. I started booking my days off in advance. I hired up in some positions in my company. I did a few time studies. Every time I did something that I saw as strategic that I could hire someone else to do, I started putting tactical beside it. And I then hired somebody to do that previously strategic work for me. I let the teams drive way more of the products. So I let them drive the decisions. I gave them goals and outcomes, and I started almost immediately delegating success and then just watching what was going on and showing up calm. Now, remember, all this happened in 2020 also, right? So we had all that increased heightened adrenalized stuff. I hired a personal assistant, which I didn't have before. I don't know why. I scheduled more time with my kids. I made my social life a priority. I went to bed earlier and I started valuing sleep, which I didn't really before. I also joined the breathing groups. I just kind of have I book time at the spas when I can. I take time out for massages. And all of that is so that I can be the most present and the most aligned person when I show up in any environment, not just at work, but in any environment. Here's the actual results in the last 14, 15 months. Our growth in revenue has gone from about $120,000 a month to a $300,000 a month average. We were in several of our brands, we were paying around $7 or $8 cost per lead. We're down to $2.75 per lead. All of this is because we looked left on the billionaire's code every time we could. We leaned into the cadence. We used the quarterly planning, the way to analyze the businesses. We were like, oh, great, we're not nurturing enough. Great, we'll go into nurturing. We actually just went through a report yesterday on one of our brands where it looks like most of our clients are converting between days 90 and 180. We started intentionally nurturing them because we knew we weren't doing that well enough about 14 months ago. And that's the dollars that make the difference. We've launched 5 over $100,000 per program programs in the last since 2020, just because we used the sharpened system of planning out what was going on, and we could look forward and be like, oh, we have a revenue, this is what we need to do to launch stuff. We have about a 70% resale rate on the back end offers of our programs. So 70% of the clients in all of our programs just stick with us and buy other programs, and we're cross-selling between programs like crazy. On one of our membership programs, the churn rate was 27% about 14 to 15 months ago. It's now 9.3%. And in one of our programs, this is not all of them, but on one of them, our membership base went from 600 to 1,100. So for those of you that are like, oh, well, the numbers really actually make a difference here. All of this is a result of leaning into those first 3 things that I said. I got really clear on my momentum, what creates momentum for me and how can I do that for my team also. I got clear on my vision, and then we just looked left in the billionaire's code and kept doing whatever the next step in that left on the billionaire's code was. When we'd get stuck, we showed up for team. We showed up. Deanna knows we don't do this very often. Oh, hang on. There's one more thing. My team also was at 17. We're now at 33. We literally have a 0 team churn rate. I had 2 people quit in the last 2 years. They've both come back. So I think that puts us at a positive churn rate or whatever. 7 people in our team have bought houses. 5 have relocated to Calgary. 2 of them had babies. It's working in terms of team also. And I kid you not, people who are really, really highly, Sherry is one of them, Alex, here, really highly qualified humans are showing up to want to work with us because we're clear and it's pretty fun to work around here. That's it. I don't know if I'm in my 10 minutes, but that's really all I'm going to say to any of you is just dig into the cadence and show up and just implement as fast as you can, get your team on board and implement. And here's another thing we did, because I told you we were a traction team. We as a team agreed that we would do what the Sharfen team said, even if we didn't agree with it. And there's been resistance. There's times where I've been like, oh, I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel like the right way to do it, but I will because I went in and I've invested. And if I'm going to like I can't show up and say, hey, Alex, it doesn't work if I'm not implementing. That's kind of been my go-to. So if you get resistance from your team or from yourself, or you're noticing any of it, just like show up and ask on the calls, show up for the trainings, and just show up and then be real. If like you feel resistance, just be real with them and say, hey, this doesn't make sense, explain. And I have yet to ask like, hey, Alex, this doesn't make sense. Can you explain? And every explanation then makes sense to me. So that's totally what's worked for us. And I hope that helps any of you with your future. I love being in this group because I think that there's some really kick butt businesses in here, and we're all driven to help other people.
Hey everybody, this is Eddie Kirk with Alex Sharfin's team. We've created something called the Momentum Planner System. It's a scientifically proven method for creating momentum, and it's specifically created for entrepreneurs just like you. You are going to love it. This has helped hundreds of people get more focused on their business, reduce the pressure and noise around them, figure out what to offload and stop doing, find the right direction, identify their top priorities, eliminate wasted time, and reduce anxiety about the future. Do you need help getting into momentum? Get the Momentum Planner System right now at momentumplanner.com.